Dominiquèa Kearns is a sacred sexuality healer and evidential medium. Her mission is to help women heal sexual shame and awaken their erotic energy through self-pleasure, to awaken women to their power, their voice, their untamed and unapologetic self. She takes a mind, body, and soul approach to the work she offers. In this episode, we're discussing sacred sexuality. It may feel uncomfortable to hear this conversation, as it may feel like a different approach to sex than we're used to. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, Dominiquèa invites you to pause the episode, give yourself a moment away from it, and then if it feels right for you, come back to the episode with an open heart and mind. So today, we're talking to Dominiquèa on Third Eyesight. My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Dominiquèa, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Ron, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to chat with you, and we've been Instagram friends, following each other for quite a while now. I feel like it's been a while. I'm not sure how we found each other, but just through the
I think
algorithm.
I think I actually found you through Hannah McIntyre. So yeah, Hannah was also my one of my mentors, and she I think she had you done a podcast interview on her podcast, hadn't you?
Yes.
So I listened to that, and then from that I just followed you.
I adore Hannah so
Yeah,
much so that I wonder if she is concerned about how much I love her stuff. And
she's
her,
great.
I just love her so much. It's one of my goals to do one of her in-person retreats or programs one day. But that's amazing you got to mentor with her. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, because that I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Okay, yeah, she's amazing. Like she makes everything so easy.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. So tell us, where are you based and what is your work?
So I am based in Dublin, Ireland, and my work is sacred sexuality healing. So basically, I work with women and I help them heal sexual shame, whether this is experiences, beliefs, or just like society beliefs. And I help them heal on a mind, body, soul level and through the act of self-pleasure. So yeah, it's very unique, but it's absolutely beautiful. Like I feel very, very lucky that I get to do this. So I incorporate Reiki, modern energy tapping, which is very similar to EFT, and then like sacred sexuality practices.
That's amazing. And actually, one of the things that made me want to reach out to you to interview you is you had posted a video. Oh, there, you know what? There goes my video. We're just gonna go with it. So folks who are
Okay.
watching this on YouTube, I'm going to turn off my video. And sorry, Dominica, this is gonna be
It's
awkward.
okay.
I'll try to bring it back. Okay, so I was going to say that the thing that made me follow you was a video you had posted of yourself doing body movement in a way that was self-loving and sensual. And I thought, this is really powerful and really, I don't like to use the word brave, because this should not be, it is brave, but it should be normal and normalized to do things like that. So yeah, I just found what you do so fascinating.
Oh, thank you so much. And when I put that video up, I was actually in my training. So last year, March was when I took the training, and I think that was possibly in June or July, because I remember specifically that was a big thing for me. Like that was a big moment, and like it was very. I felt like yeah, like brave, and because all the ladies that was in my training, they really they at that time on their social media they were talking a lot about this, and I was kind of like at the stage where yeah, people know what I'm doing, but I'm still a bit kind of like nervous to talk about it. I didn't feel like I was ready, but then I had to do a bit of healing on myself because something came up in regards to a past situation, a sexual situation that happened to me, and I worked with myself using modern energy tapping to just kind of like directly work with that memory, that emotion that was stored in my body. And then like this is the techniques that I would be using with like clients as well. So when I had shifted and cleared that memory and that emotion, I was like, I actually want to put this up because it's really, really important for women to understand this and know that it's okay, like, to be in your body, to move sensually. But also, what that does is it helps regulate your nervous system and it helps you make you feel safe within your body. So when it comes to like sex or self pleasure, it's very important that we feel safe within our body. Now, I'm going to speak from a perspective of a woman because that's what like I am, and that's what I identify as, and that's what I've been trained to work with. So, from the perspective of a woman, if we do not feel safe within our body, and we are engaging in sex or self pleasure, we dissociate or numb out. So that was a big that video was big for me because I was like, right, I'm claiming this now. I'm standing in my power, and I want women to know that it's okay to move your body sensually, and that and all the other benefits of it, basically.
It's so important, and I appreciate how you have taken an experience that you've had, and thank you for sharing that, being vulnerable and sharing that, and taking that in and sharing how you found healing with other people who may need it as well. And what came first for you? Was it because I also see that you're an evidential medium, so you have practiced psychic abilities and mediumship. What came first for you? Was it the sacred sexuality healing work, or was it the evidential mediumship?
Oh, it's the evidential mediumship, like that came maybe it actually be probably 3.5 years now. But I believe spirit has a way of working its magic. I believe that I had to open up my mediumship gifts and be like brave and say I'm a medium. You know yourself, like when that opens up, if it hasn't as a child, when that opens up, well, I can only speak for me anyways. When my mediumship opened up and I done my mentorship, and by the time I was ready to, like, say I am a medium and be brave again, because that was a brave thing for me at the same time. Mediumship is more acceptable than sex, and that's what I have learned. So people will accept you more as a medium before they accept you more as somebody who speaks about sex. Sex is still very taboo. I know obviously it's getting people are exploring it more and it is becoming a lot more open. But if you think that to some people mediumship is taboo, then if you start talking about sex, then it's even more taboo, basically. So I believe that spirit gave me this mediumship abilities to open me up, to build me confidence, because mediumship did build my confidence a lot. And then it brought me to the sacred sexuality.
I That is really resonant for me. Just how you saying how, I mean, I do not work with sex or sexual energy, but yeah, you saying that mediumship is more acceptable than sex as a field. And in the larger culture, mediumship isn't already very acceptable. So it just says a
Mm,
lot about sex as a
exactly.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. And I do want to ask you, how did your spiritual journey start with mediumship? How did you discover your ability?
So I kind of go back to where it all began and how it happened. So basically in 2018, the start of 2018, I had been for years partying, going out every like weekend, like just like on benders, drinking, taking drugs, then just working all week, spending all my money on the weekend. And in 2018, I was like, there has to be something more. Like there has to be something more to life. So I am also now I don't practice this anymore. I'm also originally like a beauty therapist, so I no longer do that anymore. But I was working in a salon at the time, and there was a woman who done Reiki there. So I had heard about Reiki over the years, but and it was something I was intrigued by, but I never got it. And she was in the salon, and one day I got it off her and I was like, oh, that's really nice. But then I didn't quite, I suppose gel would be like, she was a nice woman, but I didn't connect on an energetic level, I suppose that would be what it is. And then maybe 2 or 3 months later I found this other girl, and I was going to her regularly, like once a month. I really connected to her on a soul level. I really think she was like my soul person to get me into this lane. And I started to realize I felt very different, very, very different to what I was previously feeling. And I was so fascinated by how, like, somebody just placing their hands on me would make me feel like, oh my God, it was just like the weight of the world would be lifted off my shoulder. I felt like a completely different person. And I started to, like, obviously she was a medium as well. So she was getting messages like from my loved ones, and she obviously would get messages from spirit for me. So like messages would come through, like, you need to meditate. So started meditating. And I would have already been into like angels and stuff like that. And then I was like, I'm so fascinated about this. I want to learn about it. And it was never an intention to bring it into my work. Like, that was never ever the intention. So I think like maybe a year and a half later, I done Reiki level 1. And I think actually that was when I listened to the message about meditating. Like, it took me like ages. So I done Reiki level 1, and I started to feel different. It was like I didn't, although like me partying had quietened down, it was like everything just started to be different. I wanted different things. I didn't like even to taste a drink. It was like alcohol. It wasn't settling with me. And when I start then I'd be meditating, and I'd start or like just walking around, and I'd start feeling things like, like feeling, how I can describe it is like someone was up at my head. You probably got this plenty of times with the tingles around your head. And then I'd be meditating, and I'd feel people. Now at the time I thought it was at the time my senses was like that was just energy. But I did feel like that there was something more there. But I thought everybody, like I was convinced every single person that meditates, that's how they feel. So I didn't have a clue what was going on. But I was very, very much connecting to me intuition, like learning more about it. But at the same time, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't even realize this was like intuitive things that I was doing. And then I done my Reiki level 2. So we had been in lockdown. So it was in 2020. We had been in lockdown, and my beauty business, I had partners, and I was like, this isn't working out. Long story short, like the messages that I was receiving, even though I didn't know they were messages, on ways that I could, like, that I had to take to get out, like, a safe way, like legal way. I didn't know what was actually happening. I didn't even know these were messages that I was receiving, but it was like spirit was like, when something doesn't align and you step away from it and spirit is helping you. So anyways, done me Reiki level 2. And yeah, that was when I, like, it just blasted open. So I think a week later I had gone and received my own Reiki session. And the girl was like, right, I have Archangel Michael here and Archangel Gabriel here. And Archangel Michael, he helps you communicate, and Archangel Gabriel helps you receive messages. So she goes, you're like going to receive messages from spirit, like. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, like, that's so absurd. That's not going to happen to me. But actually, like, probably 3 months before I done me Reiki level 2, my auntie had passed away unexpectedly. But I felt her, like, I mean, I felt her so strong. And it wouldn't be strange in my family if someone crosses over to feel like, like to say something, or I think I felt this person to be very normal. So I just thought that was normal. But then for a couple of weeks after, I could feel her in my bedroom, like, so strong. And I got very quite nervous because I wasn't used to it. So I did have to tell her to leave, and she did. But then after I got told by the girl who done my Reiki that I would be receiving messages, when I start placing my hands, like the first person I touched in regards to Reiki, I start getting messages off loved ones, and I'd be like, this is mad, but I'm just gonna say it. So I'd say it, and it was like, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then I think the Christmas of 2020, I do not know, to this day, I don't know how this happened, but somehow an event on Eventbrite came up, and it was a psychic play circle. Still to this day, I never like followed anything. It came up through Eventbrite. So I went to in the January, I went to the psychic play circle, and the medium who was guiding it, obviously she goes through her techniques, and you do it. And I connected to, like, I wasn't doing Reiki obviously at the time, but I was like solely like just reading off somebody's energy. And I connected to, I think it was our stepfather, and I got so much information, got how he passed, got his name, and got like loads of different things. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then from then that mentor, I got her as a mentor because I was fascinated by her. And I was like, when I done that, that's when I knew I was a medium, because I wasn't touching anybody through Reiki, and I was just like literally reading, and I got full on confirmation about the evidence that I provided. So that's how my mediumship that's how my mediumship opened up. Went on a bit long, sorry. Hope you
No,
didn't get
that's your
bored.
journey. That's your journey. And this is great. And it sounds like, by the way, thank you for your patience with my camera. I was using a very new web camera I got and it wasn't working. So I'm back to my old camera and will not do anything unexpected. So sorry, Dominiquèa. Um, it sounds to me like, if I understood correctly, that you discovered your ability or came to know your ability, um, later in life, as opposed to like, did
Oh
you
yeah.
grow up as a child like seeing things or feeling
No.
things? Okay,
No.
my story is very similar, and it seems
Yeah.
like sometimes there's this misconception that all psychic mediums or healers have always had. I mean, I believe we've always had the power,
Mm.
but we didn't know it as children,
Yeah.
some of us. And it also sounds to me like 2020 was a pretty big year of growth for you. Um do you find that seems to be the case for a lot of people in 2020? I mean, 2020 was a tough year as it is in the world, or as it was in the world. But yeah, do you feel like you are one of many, or do you feel your experience is very unique for you? Yeah, did you find other folks in 2020 who were going through something similar?
I think 2020 for a lot of people was this initiation. That's just my personal belief, and from hearing stories, like from listening to podcasts. I think it was a big year for everyone, and like it's very similar to you one. I would have thought that people who are born, like as in like you're a child and you can see, feel spirit. So when I got told this, when the message came through, you'll see and you'll hear spirit, I was like, that's impossible. That can only happen to you from a child. And it only happens to special people. Like it wouldn't happen to me, little old me. But I believe we're all special, but at the same time, we're all not special, if that makes sense. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like
Hmm.
in the eye of like our creator, like we're all equal, we're all love, and my personal belief is anyone can access mediumship, because like it's a muscle, so like anything, well, this is my belief, it's a muscle, so like anything it can be trained in. So if you are someone who really wants to open to mediumship and you're very intrigued by it, then go and find yourself a mentor. Like at this, yes, when my mediumship opened, I could feel sense spirit, but I didn't know how to do a reading. Do you know what I mean? And it was like by a professional that had knowledge that was able to help me. That's how and by me doing like a lot of practice readings, that's how I expanded my mediumship. So to me, like I feel that it's available to us all, like intuition, like that's just a natural gift within us.
I totally agree. And I was listening to another podcast where a guest said that she doesn't believe that everyone can do it, because she's had experience in circles or at schools, or people just cannot get the hang of it. And I agree with you. I believe we all have the ability. I believe it shows up for us in different ways. I guess just like a muscle. Some of us, if we, for those who try to work out and do things the natural way without any, no steroids at the gym or anything. There's some muscles that genetically we are predisposed to develop more than other muscles. And the next person, that muscle doesn't show up as much because their genetics call for something different, right? And I do believe we can all access media. Hello. I do believe we can all access mediumship, and I have noticed that it shows up in different ways for some people. Like I know there are ways that I channel as a medium that maybe the next person can't, but there are ways that they can, maybe certain types of individual stories or experiences that they can tap into, because maybe spirit has chosen that medium, no,
Mm,
given their life experience and the level of empathy they have, maybe that I don't have yet, or that I won't have. Like maybe, I mean, I don't know yet. As of today, I'm assuming that spirit hasn't chosen me to deal with topics of very deep trauma in readings, because I don't have that experience. I don't have I do have empathy, but I think there's more for me to learn and grow in that area before I delve. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I wonder if
Oh yeah.
spirit, uses different mediums. Yeah, like if you have the right medium for the right soul, so to speak, that's coming through.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. I 100% because it's energy, it's vibration. So we have to be
right.
a vibrational match. And then coming back like to what you said about like the life experiences, I 100% believe that. Like for example, I actually am now like since September, I'm no longer practicing medium because I got a message very clearly from spirit that I have to give that up right now to focus on the sacred sexuality. But I do believe, and I have this like inner known in about like 5-10 years. It's like I'm gonna be brought back to this path. But just in regards to what I'm saying, like my readings, like the majority of them would have been all about like focusing on career because I'm a very career focused person. And like that, there would have been like some things that would have came true, like that would have been a bit like, oh, that's a bit heavy, but it wouldn't like that, it wouldn't be very traumatic because I back then I wouldn't have been. But I do believe, for example, if I was to start giving readings now, obviously I'm more comfortable with sex and talking about trauma, that there would be a possibility that people who have experienced that would be drawn to me. And I just think it's a frequency match. And then like just going back to like people like saying I have to be naturally a medium. I For example, right, some people are naturally talented sports, right? Say a football player or soccer. I know in America you call it soccer. Some people like there might be like someone that's just naturally good at soccer. But there might also be another person that's very interested in soccer and they'll just have to work harder to get to that level. And that's just the way it is.
And I've met people who say they're natural born mediums and they've been in the game for a pretty long time. And I've heard them do readings in a group setting. And I think, oh, that could re-traumatize somebody the way they just said that. So it's like we all come to it from different walks of life, and there's always room to grow and develop. I
Mm.
think sometimes this is going on a tangent, but I think sometimes some of us, I'd like to think I'm not one of these people, but I I'm that's biased of me, but some of us feel like we've made it once we've reached a certain level of development, and I feel like we're always learning. There's always room to learn and how to be even more empathetic or be more aware of what we're saying. The words we choose are so important. And I'm sure in your sacred sexuality work, I'm sure that is very important. The words you choose or how you approach a topic. Because like you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, that it sounds like you work um, with with clients who sometimes have gone through sexual trauma, and so to address that, there's so much care needed in that, right?
Mhm.
And I think in any work where we are healing, you being a conduit for healing or healing somebody ourselves, like there has to be that level of care, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like there has to be that compassion and that also responsibility. Like responsibility to like if a client has I suppose like kind of made it aware that, oh, that's actually after making me feel a bit uncomfortable, you own it and you apologize and then you learn from it. That's just, and that's something like communication is a communication and boundaries is a big thing in sacred sexuality. Like so um yeah, like and being responsibility is like a big key.
You hit on this at the beginning of the episode, but I'd like to ask you the phrase sacred sexuality. If you could encapsulate how you define that, what that means to you, how would you share that? How would you express it?
So so for me it means taking a mind, body and soul approach to sex. So we when we think of sex, we think of the physical body. But for us to really like feel like that full on pleasure that is available within our body, you have to look at like it's not just about the body, it's about the mind, the body and the soul. So you're looking at the spiritual, mental, emotional and the physical body. It is about healing the shadow parts of you, the shadow parts or the experiences that you're after having, so that you can fully feel safe within your body. and feel empowered by your body. My experience and my belief that sacred sexuality helps us to connect to the divinity within. So like from so I've kind of knew that, like, I'm gonna say God, but you can say, like, everybody has their own word, God, goddess, source, whatever. Um, we've we've heard the phrase God exists within. And I was like, yeah, God exists within, but it's only true like my practices that I've actually found God. So God can be found. God is found when we God is found within, and sacred sexuality can help us find that. Because you're also working with the heart, and the heart is like very, very important to open it in order for you to fully surrender.
That is beautiful. That I've never
Yeah.
thought of that. It's interesting because I have my own relation, and I've been open about this in the podcast a little bit. I have my own relationship with sex and trauma related to sex in different. Although the trauma wasn't through a sexual act, it showed up in another way, but I think has shown up in my sex life. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and so I have my own relationship to sex and how I viewed sex in my life. And the way you just put it, it is gently and I think importantly challenging me as I hear it. And I've never thought of it that way. That's really wonderful.
Oh, good. And like, it's very important that we feel safe within our body. So I know I said I was speaking directly to women a few minutes ago, but it's not only women. It's like everybody needs to feel safe within their body if they're to fully open up to sex and to feel that divinity within them. And it's not separate from us. And it's very beautiful. And also go slow. That's like slowly and slowly, and listen to your body. And also just like, in something else that I have found within working with my sexuality is that our intuition grows, right? And right, so when we begin to work with our sexuality from a conscious perspective, right, we have to be very much within the body. So you're doing embodiment practices and you're being within the body, you're being present, okay? So you're very, very grounded and rooted. So when it comes to like a decision that you have to make, or any intuitive things, like the more grounded you are, the more stronger your intuition feels, and the more like you do this work, the more you're connected to your body. And isn't like intuition a feeling, and feelings are found within our body. So we always say, oh, I feel like I should do this, or I feel like I should do that, or I kind of feel a bit off about that person, and that's within your body. So the more um when you're working with your sexuality consciously and sex consciously, it's like you're more in tune with your body, which you're more in tune with your intuition. So it's all connected, it's not separate.
That makes sense because I've learned intuition to be something. There's a slowness to intuiting. There's a or like a I, does that make sense? There's a slow. Like I feel like there's a slowness to intuition. Sometimes if intuition hits us really all of a sudden, there is still like a moment of there isn't like for me there is never like an adrenaline rush. If there's an adrenaline rush, it's usually coming from fear, not intuition. So that makes sense. And I have a question about this just came to mind. I'm wondering what your thoughts on it. When it comes to sexual compulsivities or seeking validation, like seeking self-validation through sexual acts of other people, pornography, like how has that shown up in your work? And what are your thoughts on, like, is there a place for pornography in a healthy way? Is there a balance of seeking self-validation in a sexual act with somebody or by yourself, but without seeking all your validation from it? Yeah, where are there balances to strike with these topics?
Okay, so I'm just gonna just make sure that you understand that your question. So you're just wondering is about validation, looking for validation in a partner or a sexual act, and like pornography, how that may be like people just overusing it. Is that right? And
Right.
is
And
there a
I just
balance?
I threw a lot at you, so I was kind of all over the place. But I guess if I could boil it all down to one question is, I think there's so much stimulation in the world of the internet, and there's so much self-comparison that goes on as well, whether it's to pornography or to Instagram people. um, is there a way to look at all that and have a relationship with all of that in a way that's balanced, or do you feel that it is more important to have a cold turkey approach?
No, God, no, don't have a cold turkey approach. Like your sexual energy is due to be like experienced. So no, but my this is just my belief, okay? So whoever is listening, take what resonates. So when it comes to pornography, right? It's not there to support women, it's there to support men, and it's all like bashing and fast and like goal orientated, and like if you're, and again, I'm just talking, I'm talking about this from a like a female and male pornography. um so it's not, that's not how sex is. That's not good sex, okay? So like if you're, and I know a lot of people like will be watching porn and like thinking that's the way that sex is supposed to be, but like that's actually not pleasurable at all. So my there is really nice there's a what would be, it's a porn site, okay, but it's more if it well, not visual, hearing, it's storytelling, sorry, storytelling, but it's beautiful. It's called Dipsy. So that's, rather than looking at like your regular porn, and listen, there's a right and wrong. Like if you're into it, but just don't go overboard on it, and like don't be using those moves and thinking that that's the way sex is supposed to be. Like because that's very like when we talk about like energies, like so I'm talking about the divine masculine and divine feminine. I'm not talking about like what you identify as. I'm talking about like each individual on this planet has a masculine energy and a feminine energy. So the masculine energy helps us take drive, take action. It's the logic. And then the feminine energy is the sensual energy, it's the intuitive, it's the slowness. But there is also a shadow side of both the masculine and the feminine, right? So looking at the porn would be the shadow side. So it's the dominating, it's the aggression, it's like the hard, the fast. It's not taking other people into account. And so I suppose what I'm trying to say is, I think I'm after getting lost on a tangent, but just
This is
hold
great.
on.
This is great.
Yeah, hold on. And I just try and find me center again. Yeah, so porn is like, I suppose this porn is the shadow side of the divine masculine, okay? So we don't want to be taking any shadow sides on. So yeah, if porn turns you on and you're not abusing it like anything, you're not abusing it, and you're not going away looking, oh, that's the way sex needs to be performed, then that's a healthy approach. But if you're like abusing porn and only watching it because it's the only thing that turns you on, and then taking all of those things, because it's going to be quite violent as well, like when you actually look at it, if you're taking all of those like things on and bringing it into the bedroom, then that's not healthy. So there is other sites like that Dipsy, which it's gorgeous, it's storytelling, it's erotic like storytelling, it's like, so it's gorgeous. If you are a more visual person, I'm sure there's other sites out there. um and then when it comes to self-validation from a partner, we've all done it, and that's what I realized for me personally, regarding that's what I was doing all the time, like looking to thinking that like having like a sexual experience with somebody like would make them like me better, would want me better, would love me better, when actually it comes back to all self-love. And like this is why I go on a lot about self-pleasure, and this is for anyone really. I go on about a lot about self-pleasure because um you really want to get intimate with yourself, right? So for example, right, I'm single, and I would like a life partner, right? It's a life partner. I'm not looking to just have like casual dating or casual sex. There's nothing wrong with that, just that's not what I'm looking for. um but I didn't love myself. I actually had a bad relationship with myself, and it's true self-pleasure. I started to give myself more. I started to love myself more, and like self-pleasure, getting really intimate with yourself. Okay. Now, this is a little, I don't know who said this, but when it's broken down, it's like, right, the word intimacy, right? Into me, I see. It's nothing about another person. So the more intimate you get with yourself, then when it comes to another person, whether it's a loving partner, whether it's a sexual partner, you can go deeper with them because you go deeper with yourself. So yeah, I hope all that made
So,
sense.
so much good stuff. And I asked you these questions because I do feel these are, at least in my world and the experience, how I experience the world, these are things that are not really talked about. And I mean, sex itself is still very taboo in our global culture, and especially depends on the country you're in. But I think I personally have found that compulsivity and seeking validation, it's like we all know it's there. We know that, especially today. I mean, I think I discovered porn when I was very young because of the internet, and just thinking what that does to the brain, how our relationship with that. And so I ask you those questions because I feel like they're so important in the context of sex today. And yes, I there's so much to that self-love and being comfortable with yourself. That's something I've found too, not just in my sex life, but just in general as a person, just loving myself more, loving ourselves more. Then we start to understand. I'll speak in the I person. I have started to understand, oh, I know I'm lovable, and I didn't know that before. And now I can trust that when someone says they love me, I know why they love me, because I know, and not coming from an egotistical standpoint, just like I know my worth and value in a healthy way. And that for me, that has translated to sex. It has translated to other career parts of my life. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I hope that by you sharing everything you did just now about your work and sacred sexuality, that someone listening to this either reaches out to you or finds a route for a healing journey somewhere in
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. And then like my a little invitation, I always try, it's not my advice, it's just an invitation. Um, is if you are interested in this, I may not be the person for you, and that's perfectly fine. But like, because this is like psychic podcast, speak to your guides and ask them, like this, listen, I'm interested in this. I'm not really into like Dominique's energy. I don't feel like connection to her. Can you help me find the person who can help me? So it's, isn't it that phrase like when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. So yeah, I would just say like if this um I suppose interview or chat is intriguing to you and I'm not your person, then ask out to the universe, ask out to your guides to find the right person that is for you. Your vibrational match, I suppose.
And that goes with any kind of healer we work with. Not every, there's so many of us, right? And of different modalities, different focuses. Um, and yeah, you just have to find the person that you click with, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that you align with.
definitely. Yeah.
Um, what has been, and I want to ask this delicately because I want to respect your client's privacy, but if there's an experience, but even your own experience on your own or with a client that you can share that has been a favorite moment for you, in whether it was a reading, a session with a client, or just a moment that had a really big impact on you.
Um, for me, I'm gonna speak on my experience, okay? So as I said, I done my training last year, the sacred sexuality training. And we had a graduation in October. So we all met in England. So we were from, most people were from England, but I'm from Ireland, and then there was other people in different countries. So we all met and we had this full day retreat, and there was a moment, so we were in a ritual and we were doing a goddess breath. So it's an embodiment practice. It's breath, sound and movement, but like you're moving your body like centrally, like moving your hips and all. It's brilliant. Like I love it. I do it every day. But there was this moment that we were in circle, and the energy was building up, and we were all just like, with the sound, it's like in you just let whatever comes out, so it's not a controlled sound, it's like whatever comes out. And we were all like howling, like, you know, just letting our power be felt, like letting our voice be heard. And I, in that moment, I was like, I just want this for every woman. I want, and not just every woman, I suppose, but women have been, um, we've been like, we've been put down for thousands of years, like we're second grade people. And for me, it's just, I want this for every woman to feel their power again, to be in circle with women, to awaken their wild woman. And that was when I felt power. And I'm not talking about like power as a manipulation, but it's power that I felt my power. And that's what I want for everyone.
You sharing that visual, just being in a group and the sounds, I got goosebumps as you were describing that, because that sounds so powerful. That's
Oh yeah.
amazing.
It was amazing. Like, it's one of my best memories like that. I know it was only a couple of months ago, but I will take that with me like forever. And I that's what I want. That's my mission.
Yeah, and congrats on graduation, by the way.
Thank you.
Now, is there one, if there's one myth about your work, like that clients come to you for the first time and maybe they assume something about your work or about you in your role, if there's a myth that you could debunk right now about the work that you do, what would that be?
So I don't think it's about me or my role, but I think it's about the work I do. So sex and spirituality are separate. They're not. They're one. So just we were all created through sex. Okay. So even like for someone who is like, say, having IVF, right? And or someone that needs, yeah, IVF or a sperm donor or whatever. So the female mightn't be created through her sexual energy, but for a man to ejaculate, he has to be engaging in his sexual energy. So we were all created through like true sex. Um, so like, we are spirits having this human body, having this human experience, who has been created through sex. So it's not separate. Um, like, again, my experiences, like my personal experiences over the last couple of months, like working with my sexual energy, it has, as I said, it has helped me connect it to God, but has helped me to transcend and have like these experiences that like I I don't think that, like, I've never had them before, but they're it's unconditional love that I felt, and which to me is God. And so they're not separate. Like, you don't have to choose one or the other. You don't have to choose sex and not be a spiritual person, or you don't have to choose like spirituality and like just go cold turkey and not like engage in it, because we all have that sexual energy, which is our creative energy, which is our life-giving energy. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason that the is it the sacral plexus chakra? It's both
Solar plex. Oh yeah, sacral chakra.
yeah,
Sacral chakra.
sacral, it's
Yeah, yeah,
both. Yeah, I always confuse the two because one's
yeah.
yellow, one's orange. The sacral plexus is both the sex and the creativity chakra, right?
Yeah, so the
So
sacral chakra is the sex and creativity. So your creativity gets awakened through your sexual energy, and it's also our manifesting energy. So now I don't mean to do this like to keep going back to women, because I know everybody listens to this. It's just like, as I said, I'm just trained in this, so I'm just going back to a woman's body. Okay, so we have like the womb space, and like we create, not everyone, and it may or may not be your choice to have a baby, but this is just what I'm coming back to. So a baby gets created in the womb space through sexual energy, and then a baby comes through the birth canal. Okay. In regards to women, we have this connection to like we have this connection to the spirit world and the physical or material world, right in our like yonis. So our yonis is the bridge between worlds.
that's such a beautiful way. You've said so many things today that I just think, what a beautiful way to look at things. And also, I want to say that, yeah, completely honor how you are speaking about and to women, because I mean, I as a gay man, I believe there's a different experience but at the end of the day, I'm still a man. And I agree with you, what you said earlier, that women have had a very disproportionate experience of being put down. And I mean, the way that I grew up with some religion in my life and being told that sex is bad unless you're married, or sex is mostly just for procreation and not really for
Mm,
enjoyment. Yeah, what a way to and manipulate with power, right, and control. And so that I'll fully acknowledge, and I want to honor that women have had a very disproportionate experience of that. So I want to encourage and uplift how you are speaking about the female body, and yeah, I think that's so important. And yes, I think there's applicable to everybody. I'm taking so much from this conversation.
of
um
course.
yeah, so important to honor that women have had a very disproportionate experience.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
just coming back to like the religious context. Okay, so I'm from Ireland, so I'm sure everybody knows the story about Ireland, but um just going back to religion. So religion, the messages that you have heard, right? So and we've all heard. So sex is for procreation. You should only have sex like for you should only have sex when you are in marriage, and like sex is only between, like it should be only between a woman and a man. So sex awakens our power. Like if we are consciously doing it and not like projecting like our sex life onto another person, like if we are doing it consciously, like sex awakens our power. Again, coming back to our intuition, it grows our intuition and our creativity. Religion wanted you to, like, going back thousands of years, like they didn't want you to think you had power. So what's more, why would like say all those things and get like make you believe that sex is wrong so you don't have power? And that's what it comes back to, power and manipulation and control. And that's like my personal experiences and what I'm after learning, and and not just what I'm after learning, like the wisdom, the embodied wisdom that I'm after experiencing. It's like, no, like our creator, that's not the way of our creator. Just I don't believe it anyways.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. Yeah, it's so much more to talk about there. Religion. That's,
Yeah.
and specifically the Catholic Church. I grew up Catholic
Yeah.
myself. So,
Okay.
but how can our listeners learn more about you and book a session with you or consultation?
So the best way to get me is through Instagram. So my handle is at divinediscovery.co. I've also my own podcast called Soul Discovery. I feel like I'm going to be changing it soon, the name of it. So I would just follow me if you are interested. Follow me on, yeah, Instagram. It's the best way to get me.
Awesome. Well, Dominica, thank you so much for your time and for sharing so much insight today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here and for you listening to me.
If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.